Hi, and welcome to the Midrash portion of Reunion Roadmap. This is Barry Phillips, along with my co-host at this portion, David Jones, fellow elder with me, and B'nai Yosef. And our topic for today is finding the balance between the Torah and the Ruach Hakodesh. Now, maybe some would say that that's a question that doesn't even need asking, but I think experientially, did I even say that right? Experience would say to us that we struggle at times, whereas in the past, perhaps some of us, especially that came out of charismatic and Pentecostal circles, such as I did, David, I think you did to some degree as well, where we experienced what we called the operation of the gifts of the Spirit and good spiritual services, etc. We began now to walk together in the Hebraic roots community, and our focus is not so much on gifts, but on details pertaining to the Torah. Maybe we have lost one to gain the other, and maybe we need to get back to where we have a balance of the two. What are your initial thoughts on that, David?
I think it's a very good point that we seem sometimes to trade something off. We're so used to something's just plain right or wrong. It's this or that, and we have a hard time seeing aspects of this and that. Or where you're looking at two different things and you can say, well, both of these are right, or you can look at something and say both of these are wrong. You know, we can see aspects of both things there that are applicable. And so when we look at approaching, wow, you mean his Torah is still valid? What do you mean the Sabbath thing? Wow, this is awesome. This is great. And we get this renewal in our life, but then we have to be careful not to flush what we've already experienced and seen and know to be true, even though we may not agree with some ideas of doctrine, but we do want to take everything that the Father desires for us to have. And so I believe he equips us to walk in his word completely, but he does that by his Ruach Hakodesh.
Okay. So in Romans 8, Rav Shaul, the Apostle Paul, goes through a great deal of detail talking about the mind of the spirit or the mind of the flesh. And in previous circles, the mind of the flesh was equated with one trying to find justification or decreed righteousness through an effort of keeping law, keeping the Torah. So we would walk in the spirit. That meant I'm yielding to the Spirit, and I am, quote unquote, Spirit led. So the Spirit told me to get up this morning and to wear these particular clothes and to go to that particular restaurant. And in my mind, I'm supposed to meet someone who's been told, look for the guy in this color shirt, etc. Nothing ever happens. Well, I was just led by the Spirit, and they're the one who failed. We're living by imagination at times. Doesn't the Torah equip us to be balanced enough to handle the gifts effectively without being taken out into a place where it's out of balance? Doesn't walking in the Spirit require a foundation of Torah, and properly understanding the Torah require an infusion of the Ruach to give us understanding?
Wow, that's great. In my mind, how can we discern the voice of the Ruach without the Torah? Because we think that to be carnally minded is to be a life of observing just these physical commands, and we're weighed down and bogged down by all that. But we want to be spiritually minded, that's life and free, and don't worry about all these other things. But, you know, the Father loves us enough to redeem us and meet us wherever we're at. But he also loves us so much that he desires for us to not stay there. He wants us to change. He wants us to be like him. He wants us to receive from him. And you know, you brought up Romans 8. You know, I'm thinking of Romans 8 verses 6 and 7, where it talks about carnally minded as death, but to be spiritually minded as life and peace. But it's the next verse that I really think is amazing there. It says, the carnal mind is enmity against Yahweh because it is not subject to the law of Yahweh, neither indeed can be. So if we say we want to be spiritually minded, that means we would subject ourselves to his Torah.
Well, I like it where you took that there where, Moshe said, if you don't believe Moshe and the prophets, neither will you believe in me, for they spoke of me.
Mm.
And the validation of Yeshua as the Mashiach, the Messiah, is not signs, wonders, miracles, walking on water, feeding 5,000, or even that he said that he was the Messiah. It is that Moshe and the prophets decree him to be the Messiah. So when Rav Shaul encouraged us to be filled with the Spirit, when it's recorded in Acts that they were again filled with the Spirit, Yeshua balanced that with saying to Yochanan and Yaakov, when they asked, do you want us to call fire out of heaven on these guys? Yeshua said, you don't know what spirit you're of.
Mm. Wow.
So as the Torah describes who Yeshua is and validates him, does the Torah also then, as you were suggesting, describe who the Ruach is and validate him for us as well?
I definitely believe so. The idea that the Ruach Hakodesh is only available and starting to be seen in Acts chapter 2 we're missing a big point if that's what we do believe, because even in Shavuot, I mean, you can look at everything laid out from the very beginning of foundation, all the Moedim, everything right there, just as everything was being created. But when he brought them there at the mountain, when they came out of Mitzrayim, that was what he was doing there. He gave them his word, and you're telling me the Ruach was not present there? It was. Matter of fact, everything that they saw and experienced in Exodus chapters 19 and 20, everything that they saw and experienced at that mountain, they saw in Acts chapter 2. Yes.
Yes, same signs, same accompanying evidences. Yeah. I also see in Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 1, it says that the Ruach was hovering, incubating, vibrating, readying, preparing for reception upon the face of the waters. It's interesting that no word proceeds from Yah until the acknowledged presence of the Ruach is decreed first. So before the word of creation takes place, the Ruach Hakodesh is preparing whatever is there to receive that word and then to actually be able to capably produce that word into a state of reality. The same thing I think happens now is that the Ruach is hovering over us, germinating within us, preparing the ground, turning over the fallow soil, if you will, readying us for his word. So when it's given, when we hear the Torah, there is that immediate recognition. That's truth. That is exactly what I needed to hear, and that fits where I'm at right now. And so that word then becomes ingrained, implanted.
I like how you put that. How he said that that he's toiling the ground. He's preparing the ground, and you're using that in reference to us. Well, I think, okay, what was Adam made from? He took him from the clay of the earth, and he fashioned and formed him and made him, and so we're the ground that needs to be tilled up and prepared and get ready to receive his word and prepare to have that within us, which was the intent from the beginning, wasn't it? I mean, like King David said, thy word have I hidden in my heart that I might not sin against you. I mean, it was a matter of, what does it mean to hide his word in your heart? That means it's a part of you.
So, again, this will be a softball question for you. How does this relate to circumcision of the heart?
Good question. I think that it relates to the things that a sign of covenant for us as well. The things that the Father desires for us to have in our heart is there, because He engraves His word into Ezekiel 11 says our hearts of stone. And so when you engrave something, you're removing things that are there, and what's left are what you engraved. And so in my mind, He is removing the things in our heart that don't need to be there, writing His word on it, and giving it back to us as His heart, a heart of flesh, a heart that is soft and tender and pliable towards Him. And He says then, and when He does this, He will give us a new spirit. He will give us His Spirit, which equips us to walk in His word. And so
okay, let me break in here. You said something then has to be taken out in order for the word to be capable of appearing. It's kind of like, I know it's not written with ink, it's engraved in, but something's removed for something else to appear. So if the Torah is revealing to us those things that have to go, but this is sentimental to me. This is nostalgic to me. This is warm fuzzy to me. This is what we used to do. It's what I used to preach. It's what my family does. But can't we just keep it for the children? And all of those kind of things, Yah says, if you want the word there, then that's got to go. You know, that's when we talk about circumcision hurts. Thankfully, that took place before my memory kicked in, but I've always joked about Abraham hearing the command, and he's a well-aged man, and he holds up a piece of flint and he says, "Line up, boys." It's going to hurt. But as painful as circumcision is in the flesh, can it, because it's spiritual, that means it doesn't hurt?
Oh, no. I believe it does. It hurts just as much. I mean, but the question comes, do we want to be carnally minded or do we want to be spiritually minded? You know, I mean, Romans 8 talks about this. It says that the carnal mind is enmity against Yahweh because it is not subject to the law of God, neither can it be. So if that is true, which it's there in Romans 8, then the opposite of that is just as true as well. It says that if we are spiritually minded, then we would make ourselves subject to His word. And as we're walking in it, He'll equip us, and He'll give us the power and the authority in life to overcome the things that are there. And He'll give us what we need when we need it. And guess what? A lot of times He'll use our brothers and sisters and people next to us to help do that.
And I remember, David, in yesteryear, gifts were in operation, and they were in operation in a day for us when we really didn't believe that the Torah was valid for us. And so sometimes some strange things happened. It's kind of like a electrical cable across the road, and you're not grounded. Where electricity is and no grounding, there's problems. But we're being grounded.
I have seen that firsthand.
So if we're grounded in Torah, then the power should be able to flow correctly without there being problems and dangers and so forth. I mean, humans are still going to be humans, and flesh is still flesh. But nevertheless, we shouldn't see the emotional fanfare element of it to excess. I get excited about things, and that's permissible, but the gifts do not require hyper emotionalism in order to be evident. They can be used effectively. And man, we've got about 30 seconds here, and I had a whole other section of scripture I wanted to go to, but we want to offer about 15, 20 minutes on a weekly basis of Midrash over a variety of subjects. And we invite our listeners to write in with questions, texts that you have that are problematic for you. Maybe we can help try to break it down for you. If not, we'll just simply say, we don't know. But if you got a question or a comment and you'd like to have Midrash over it, send it in, and we'd be glad to take that and see if we can't use it. Last thought, David, for about 10 seconds.
Well, that sounds awesome to me. We want to hear from all of you because that's why we're here, to be a part of the body. So let's do that and have shalom in the process.
Thanks, everyone.